Welcome back to the Rest is F1 podcast. Today we are talking about the Miami Grand Prix 2025. I'm your host Shaq, and with me as always, I've got ABD and Ham. What do you think of the race, guys?
Hey there, guys. Hey, thanks for the welcome, Shaq. Miami, comparing to the sprint weekend and the normal race day, I think it was pretty interesting. Because we had a rainy sprint, it was very unpredictable, and I think it's the first time we've ever had a rainy race in Miami. So I think and that was a that was beautiful because we got to witness few of the strategy calls, last minute safety cars, and I think yeah, it was interesting. And the race, especially, a lot of turns, a lot of corners. So yeah, it was good. I think I'm gonna say an 8 out of 10. Solid race.
Yeah, I agree with Ham there. I think sprint weekends, it can bring up some surprises. We saw Kimi getting the pole, also performing really well in the main qualifying as well. So that was a good story to see in F1. An 18-year-old getting the pole and also almost finishing on the podium as well. So that was really good to see. Also, I think less practice means more unpredictability. I think if there was another practice, Russell would have learned the car, and I don't think Kimi would have been on the pole in sprint. So yeah, it just makes it more unpredictable. But at the same time, I think it was like really hectic for the drivers. So many things going on at the same time. Like you have to finish the sprint race and jump into the main qualifying. So it wasn't easy, I think, on the drivers.
Like you said, sprint was eventful. Let's call it that. You had people like Stroll and Gasly. They were in the points somehow after all of the, I guess let's call it carnage. You had the incident from Antonelli and Verstappen. That's fully Red Bull's fault. I don't think there's much discussion for that one. Yeah, poor timing from Red Bull, and Antonelli didn't actually get to pit that lap as well. But he didn't. That race was not reflective of his pole. Let's just put it that way. Three in a row for Piastri now, guys. I mean,
Repeat.
yeah, it's PS3 in a row. That's what McLaren have been putting on the Instagram page. What do you think? Like, how are we feeling about this drivers' championship? I know I asked you last podcast if you guys think he's like a favorite, but for me, I would say I would put him there. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think he is very consistent. But at the same time, I thought Lando was back at his form this weekend. The only mistake he did was in the first corner having a battle with Max. If that didn't happen, I think Norris would have won the race. And Piastri even agreed to that. He said he got some help from Max and Norris having that fight in the first corner. Otherwise, he wouldn't have won the race. So, yeah, definitely championship contender. He extended his lead by 15 points now after this. Three races in a row. So yeah, totally agree. We will see him fighting, hopefully fighting till the end for that championship.
PS3 is an absolutely an amazing driver. uh, Three in a row. He has bought that aura back into the McLaren. I guess I think ABD we were talking the last time a McLaren driver got three in a row was in 1998, and but it was by Hakkinen, and we had uh, Hamilton in the say in a McLaren in 2006, and the next year after being in a McLaren, he's won a championship. But then he never accomplished a win three in a row,
Mm.
and which was done by Piastri. So that is something massive. And uh, like you said, Norris, he was right behind Piastri towards the end of the race, but then a huge gap between himself and Verstappen when both Norris and Verstappen were having a fight between themselves. So I think that is how you can determine Piastri is always thinking ahead rather than just waiting and passing time. He just thinks ahead, he acts accordingly, and he does a beautiful job. And I want to say kudos to McLaren, to be honest. They were helping both the drivers. They were gaining data from both the drivers and helping both of them at the same time. Wherever Norris is losing time and Piastri was gaining, they would pass it on to Norris, saying that this is what Piastri has been doing. This is how you can improve your timing. And same goes for Piastri as well. Wherever Norris was getting more time, they were pushing it forward to Piastri as well, giving him ideas on how he can improve his time. So McLaren had an amazing weekend, beautiful strategy calls. Especially, you could see the sprint. I think Norris was lucky with the safety car, but then that was absolutely beautiful. Piastri and Norris, McLaren had a beautiful race, and Piastri, being a world champion this year, I think we just have to wait for another couple of more races. I think, like I agree with Shaq, he is going to be a world champion if he goes at this pace.
Like you were saying, Ham, pretty flawless from McLaren in terms of strategy, but even the car itself is just much, much quicker than everyone else. Piastri was ahead of Russell, who was third he was ahead of him by 37 seconds. That's a massive, massive gap. And I noticed watching the highlights back and all that, and I saw that Piastri was like 8 seconds ahead of Verstappen after Verstappen and Norris were fighting. So that's another thing you can notice is once you get clear air, and these cars, clear air is the king. And I know Piastri said that last year, but the minute you get clear air, and it's almost an advantage being in front, even though you don't have DRS. It seems like having clear air is much better than having DRS. That's how strong it is, right? Um, and speaking of Norris and Verstappen, the difference today, I think, in like ABD you said before. Norris was too caught up in the battle with Verstappen, whereas Piastri was patient and he waited for the right opportunity. Verstappen locked up, went straight, and Piastri just undercut through. He went. Norris, meanwhile, he had overtaken him. He got re-overtaken. He even pushed him off the track, I think. He had to
Mm.
give the place back. He had to do quite a few things. And eventually, he did get the move done. But how much time he lost with that, that's another big thing as well.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
also, like Norris should have known he have a faster car than Verstappen. He should have been patient and just waited for a few more corners, not trying to overtake in the first corner itself. So, yeah.
It reminded me of actually Austria last year when he was also kind of doing the same thing, just a bit too impatient, trying to go for it, getting re-overtaken, and then obviously that race was a different outcome, both of them finishing not even near the podium, but yeah. Luckily for him this time he didn't go too crazy with it.
Yeah, and also just going back to McLaren's car, like being 30 plus seconds ahead of the rest of the team, I want to borrow the words told by Martin Brundle on Sky F1. He said McLarens were on a different postcode. I
Yeah,
thought I thought that was really funny.
yeah. 100%. They're 100% out. When you finish so far ahead, absolutely.
They had lapped both the Aston Martins as well. So McLaren's pace is something which I think we is similar to a Red Bull pace back in 2023, where Max Verstappen was dominant, Perez was behind, but then he had few issues with the car. He wasn't completely synced with it, I felt. But then this time, both the drivers were really good, and it's all McLaren going on throughout the race. And the struggle, like you mentioned, if he had waited, if Norris were patient enough, he would have gotten through really fast. He would have gotten through Verstappen without any struggle. Like you said, I do agree with you on that.
Let's move just a little bit further down the grid. Alex Albon, P5. Wow, he's on 30 points this year already in a Williams. I mean, it's two things. It's Williams have, you know, they have increased their performance by, some crazy amount right now. And also just Albon himself is just driving like the probably his career best, form right now. Like I've never seen Albon so let's just say it. I've never seen Albon drive so well. He's
He's
been so
driving like
good.
he's possessed. He is
Yeah, yeah.
possessed.
He's driving like a man possessed. He's
Exactly.
showing literally he's showing the Williams was faster than the Ferrari in Miami. That is how depressing it is for Ferrari and how great it is for Williams right now.
Yep.
Is
Uh,
it too is it too soon to say Williams has have taken over Ferrari's place and Ferrari has taken over Aston's place? Is it too soon to say that?
I think it's too soon to say.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
only
Is
like
it too soon?
6, 7 races in now. They are bringing some upgrades in Spain, which is I think three races away now. So hopefully we will see a turnaround. But going back to Albon, I had him for a good drive for my prediction, so I'm happy he finished in P5.
He did not disappoint. He did
Mm,
not disappoint. They have between Albon and Sainz, they had few hits, near misses, I guess, during the start of the race, but then they kept it clean. Ferrari were having hard time catching up to him, especially Leclerc. I don't know what happened. Uh, he was not able to get past the Williams. They were just too fast for the Ferrari. The Williams were an absolutely, like, they were exactly like Albon being possessed. The whole Williams as a whole is possessed with a beautiful car right now, and I'm waiting to see what they've got for us further down the road. Will they keep up the performance? Like you said, probably too soon to say whether they're faster than the Ferrari as a whole, but then I'm just rooting for them to be, among the top best teams in this season.
I think the only positive for Ferrari this weekend was Hamilton in the sprint. Once again, pretty good performance. He made the call to pit earlier, before the safety car and all that stuff as well. So I think from him, I would say he actually had a pretty decent weekend in terms of he still scored some points. He made he's probably scored more points from the sprints alone so far. But um, let's keep talking about Ferrari. The main thing that's been popping up after this race is the Ferrari radio, and particularly Lewis Hamilton. So the two main things he was saying was on the radio. He said while they were deciding to do a strategy, that he was saying have a tea break while you're at it. And then when they were asking him to, I think it was give DRS to Charles, he had said something like, "Shall I let him pass as well?" And he was referring to Sainz, who was behind Leclerc.
No, Shaq, that was actually when they again swapped the positions between Leclerc and Hamilton.
Yeah,
They had told over the radio to Hamilton that Sainz is behind him. He's 1.4 seconds. That's when he said, "Shall I let him pass as well?"
yeah,
So
yeah. Okay,
because
yeah. So
he was fuming, I would say, throughout the race because he had a faster tire than Leclerc, and he was kept behind for a couple of laps, where it
yeah,
should have been an instant decision by Ferrari, who with a faster tire, faster car, they should have put him in front and went on to attack Kimi Antonelli. But then they had to wait. They waited for a couple of laps before they could pass on the message to Leclerc. So I would agree why he was fuming because that is a decision that should have been taken instantly rather than just waiting a couple of laps because his tires got
Be
older.
left to
Yep,
be
his tires got older. His tires got older, and by the time he was attacking, a couple of laps later, he was swapped back again. So I understand his frustration. He actually said over the radio when they asked him to swap position, he said, "Am I not fast enough?" So he was
yeah,
actually fuming with Ferrari radio and the strategies they've been giving him. So I think when Hamilton was calling the shots in the sprint race, that's when he's got the most out of it. So do you think the drivers calling their own shots is better with the strategy than the over the teams having their strategies built with A, B, C, D, E, F to Z?
to be honest with
only when it's Ferrari.
Yeah, to be honest, also to be honest, like with the pace Ferraris have now, I don't think strategy even matters.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
would finish what they have in the race anyway. Maybe Hamilton ahead of Leclerc or Leclerc ahead of Hamilton, but they wouldn't have finished in the top five with the pace they've got. So yeah.
yeah. I was devastated Hamilton didn't finish in front of Leclerc, who's in my prediction. No, that would have been a nice point to get.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really close though. It
Yeah, I know. Did they? So it was because he asked him to swap back, and then he had to sit there.
yes.
Another
Yeah.
thing I would want to just talk about Hamilton. So I obviously told you guys about this, but Hamilton told Fred Vasseur actually to calm down. So he had some words to say about, the whole radio thing, and he was just kind of assuring him, like this is not a personal thing, just relax. It's just in the heat of the moment I say things, and I could have said many worse things. What do you guys think of that?
I think Hamilton is really trying to bring some heat, or bring the heat up in the team, and try to see if he can make, some real change, with the performance and all of that in the next few races. I think he's making sure his voice is loud and clear,
Yeah,
um, to the leadership and to the technical team and all of that, because the way they're performing, the fifth fastest car, with all the facilities, all the budget they've got, it's just disappointing. I actually have my Ferrari hat just here. I'm not wearing it because I know how bad their performance was this race. So yeah, it's going to be interesting in the next couple of races. I felt like in this race, Hamilton didn't feel as disappointed as like the Saudi race, or the Bahrain race, especially because he was close to Leclerc throughout the race, and also not far. Or also he got the podium in sprint, so he was not that disappointed, because he and the rest of the Ferrari fans now know it's not his fault. It's the car itself. The car itself is not performing up to mark, or up to where the rest of the top teams are performing. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this story rolls out, because would they keep focusing on this year, or will they jump into 2026, and get ahead of the game for 2026 and the seasons moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see that.
One thing I would like to add is Hamilton only shows disappointment throughout this. I mean, for the past couple of races, but in this race, he's completely let it out.
Hmm.
Over the radio, he sounds disappointed, but he's never too angry, or he never shouts at his over his radio. But this time, we could actually see him. He was absolutely blasting at the over the radio, saying that you guys should take proper decisions. That's what he's trying to imply to the team. And him saying Fred to calm down, he could have said more things, but I think that was uh, a bit too much, I would say. True, he could say a lot of things, but then he should not have told that to you know the head of Ferrari over there. Like he is as the team boss. So we all thought, like ABD mentioned, we all thought Hamilton was slower. No, the car is actually fast, but then he just proved it. He is fast. The car is what is the issue. So I have no idea what Ferrari is gonna do with the next for the coming weekend, but then hopefully they you know step it up and provide Hamilton and Leclerc the car they require to actually face off with the top teams. At this point, if Williams are faster than them, you never know. Other teams are there; they might jump ahead.
I think actually, I personally feel Hamilton was better than Leclerc for this weekend. I think he he had more pace. He showed it in the sprint. Obviously he got a bit, um, let's say, affected by the Ferrari decision to stay out longer and all that. So yeah, I don't know. I think. they have a lot of work to do. It's really disappointing, like you said, ABD. To be, they were second. They almost won the World Constructors Championship last year, and you have brought in Lewis Hamilton. He's the one of the greatest drivers of all time, and you've got him alongside you have this driver you've grown for years, and you have the best. I would still say probably when they go top peak performance, I think the best lineup driver wise. So you have all this hype around you, and then you start the season, all you can manage is a P6 and 7 every race. It's very, well, I feel very sorry for the fans. With all the hype, especially that's the biggest letdown.
Hmm.
And I mean, Ferrari are the biggest underperformers of 2025 so far. I mean, I've not seen something like this
Actually,
from,
yeah, actually,
yeah,
I forgot about the fact that there was second in the constructors last year. Thanks for reminding me that. That shows how much
yeah,
upwards they have gone. It's
yeah.
insane.
That's exactly what. That's why that's heavy. Like I think about that, and then I look at now, and I'm like, wow, what happened? Like this who like I've said it before, but the decision to scrap your car from 2024 and try and make a full new one when there's regulations in 2026. That was probably the stupidest decision I've ever seen. That was such a bad idea. And it's not like they've wasted more time with that. They're slower. They can't keep up with the Red Bull, the Mercedes, the Williams now, and obviously the McLaren very far ahead.
Yep.
And last year they were right behind the tail of McLaren. There were some races where Ferrari was like unstoppable. I don't know if you remember in Coda last year. They just drove off, and that's the Ferrari we want to see. Not the, struggling to fight with like Lance Stroll or Alex Albon. Like these are teams that have, been at the back for so long, and you've been, near the front. And to be like this, I think, yeah, we got serious questions. Serious changes need to be made at Ferrari. I think otherwise they're doomed. Literally, they're doomed.
I just wanted to say sort of final thoughts. I guess like the way McLarens are going, I would really like to see Lando versus Piastri on the track more often in the coming races. They're looking, out of this world at the moment. So it'll be good to see that teammate battle more on the track, which we haven't witnessed so far. So really looking forward to that in the upcoming races.
One more thing I want to just talk about. So I don't know if you guys know, um, there are serious changes that they're going to be making with the front wing, flexi wing in Spain. Now, there's a lot of talk about this. They're saying there could be serious changes in the order. You could see potentially the other guys catching up to the McLarens. And, this is very similar to last year where we kind of went, what, 8 races with just pure Red Bull dominance, and then suddenly the other three teams just start taking the wins away from them. Imagine we get something like, do you think we could beat that from last year?
Um, when McLaren team bosses were asked about this, they seemed extremely calm about what's coming. Like, that makes me feel it's not going to impact the order that much. But
I,
it
I,
Okay.
I
have to
I
wait.
have a feeling that they've already predicted some things are going to happen, and they have already found the outcome as to how they can still finish ahead of all the teams. So McLaren seems very chill. They're not worried about anything. They are just worried between Piastri and Norris on who is going to be in top. Both of them are very fast. They're very uh, competitive against each other. So I'm just wondering who towards the end at Abu Dhabi, or you never know before that, or will we have a fight until the end? But who is gonna be on top, Piastri or Norris? That's what I'm looking forward to.
And I wonder if McLaren have put maybe too much focus into this year, because that could potentially sacrifice whatever happens next year, because next year is a big year. Just like in 2022, Ferrari rose straight up to the top, and you could see that maybe if McLaren go backwards, maybe they don't put enough resources into 2026 and they focus too much on this year because they just really want to, maintain the or keep the championships. Um, so yeah, that pretty much sums up everything. Pretty good race. Good to see we've had a couple good more races after you know, Japan, I guess. Yeah, so I think we got exciting races coming up. We got Imola, Monaco, and Spain. That's a triple header. We got a bit of a break, I think 1 week. So I'm sure we'll miss F1 dearly in that time. But until then, we hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys for the next race. Bye bye.
Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video.